Parchment Society, celebrating together so joyfully. Words pour out from our kind souls. There is no place for inflated egos. This place is home to you and me. Surroundings familiar, a community. Let's write the words from our minds. All those adventures will be sublime. This group belongs to the member poets, caring and sharing those precious moments. Let's laugh together, then share some tears, emotions displayed without anxiety or fear. Quill and Parchment Society, elevating poets, honoring art, enriching souls, celebrating community.
Well, welcome everybody. Anybody that's coming in, listening, welcome to the 10th episode of the Reading List podcast, brought to you by the Quill and Parchment Society. So I want to take a minute and thank all of you guys, all you poets out there that have joined us here at the Quill and Parchment Society on All Poetry and contribute every single piece that we read here. You guys are fabulous. The group does so well. It's an eclectic group. We have new poets, older poets, people from all walks of life. And it makes for an eclectic group and a great show that, I enjoy doing. And Zach enjoys hosting with me. We have several members who have called in and read, and it's such a wonderful thing to share and do, and all of that is because we work in that group. The Quill and Parchment Society is something that started out as a concept and has grown to a point where we get lots of contributions from lots of wonderful poets. Sometimes though, guys, with all this internet connectivity and stuff like that, we forget that, life does happen. So as lovers of poetry, we're really just lovers of life, and we're trying to figure it out, write it down, things that inspire awe and wonder, make us inquisitive and things like that. So it's a great thing to share. But whenever we have something to write about, we should write about it and share it. And this is a great forum for that. So that being said, I have a couple of things that I want to announce within the group for all you Parchies that are going to change. So we haven't been doing the Poet of the Month. We kind of had some issues with the logistics, getting it done and everything and all that, because it was the holiday season. People are in and out and they step away and all that. And I don't begrudge any of you. I did it through Christmas. I stepped away for about 6 weeks and didn't do any podcast, any writing, any reading, nothing like that. But it was so I could enjoy the holidays and then get back to this. So we all do things our own way, and you'll see some of the participation from folks will get less and then get more. And please, guys, this group is free flowing. I don't want you to think that, you can't do that, because we all need our time to live our lives too. So, that being said, I want to thank again all the people that really have helped me get this far with this concept when I launched it. There are some very, very helpful folks. Deborah Leo 5 as our group greeter. So she's had some things, happening in her personal life with her husband, injuring himself and stuff like that. And she's kind of stepped back. But Deb, you're always welcome back just as soon as you're ready to come back. If you want to peek into a show, contribute, whatever, you're part of our group. You're a Parchie just like us. Yumpy, who had the original idea of doing Poet of the Month. I haven't been in contact with Yumpy. He's stepped away from all poetry, it seems. And that's okay. We welcome you back, Yumpy, when you're ready to come back. Merv, kind of the same thing. We all know that his sister passed late last year, late fall last year, I believe it was. And he's kind of taken some time too. And that's a good thing, because you have to. Anyway, we think about you all and welcome you back as soon as you're ready to come back and participate. That's the important thing. You're still part of this group, and life happens, and we deal with things as we can deal with them. And as you've noticed, the other host of this podcast, Zach, who's been here from the beginning, isn't here today with us. He wasn't here last week with us. And Zach's taken a little bit of time for himself. He needed to step away for a minute, and he stepped away for a minute, but we're continuing. And then whenever Zach is ready to come back and join us, Zach is going to come back and be back in the podcast, helping me read and digest poetry. Because I'm going to be honest with you, I want to do this show even just as myself being the only reader and commenter, and the show will go a lot quicker because there's less people on the panel, but it won't be as thorough as what it is with 2 or 3 folks in here reading and commenting, because we work off each other. It's funny because last week Scarlett called in, and it was her first time calling in, and she messaged me and told me afterwards that she really appreciated how my views on the poetry were so much different than hers, and I highlighted points that she didn't catch. But the same thing works for me. It happens with Zach. It's happened with Tressa. It's happened with anybody I've ever read poetry with here. They see things from a different perspective because of their life experiences than what I see things. And it opens my eyes, and I deeply appreciate that. So I want to thank you all the coordinators. I went through all of the coordinators, but there's also, the folks who have called in, Noelle, Tressa Rose, and I believe Scarlett are the only ones that have called in yet. And we've gotten some interest from a couple other folks. So we'll see what happens in the future, but we plan on keeping on doing this and keeping the doors open for you guys to enjoy this experience the same way I do. So, and the same way Zach does, and the same way anybody will tell you that's ever done this. It is a wonderful, wonderful thing when it is a encouraging, kind environment. And remember, this is about the love of poetry and all that. That's what we do it for. So I suppose without further ado, there aren't many other changes we have going on that I need to talk about here within the group. I suppose we're ready to start reading some poetry. The first piece up is by our own Harmonerotica, Zach. It's titled Yearning Lunar Tides. I am the rushing tide, ushering you to my shore, to set sights on nocturnal nights we adore. My glistening mirror reflecting your craters. Your pale mountains wave in my glassy glow. Shimmering water painted in black and white brightens my tide as your full orbs rise high. Our sky ripples projected on my surface. Air between water and moon yearns to swoon into my watery arms and your pale crescents. Ache to landfall, plunging into my cold abyss. But we're reeling in the pull of our gravity. Lingering lights merge in sky and water. Caught in the shining lake, motes like eyes. Thousands dance, we do not cease. Yearning, apart but aware. Watching, waiting all night until the sun rises. Gently prying us apart for the day. But he can only delay, not stop, our next night on moonlit lake. We orbit while apart, but always reunited in light created to play, in enveloping, velvety dark. End poem. I'm going to read his author's notes. It says, a kind of romantic yearning personified by the magnetic lunar pole above the reach, the lake below. Gravity is represented as a form of desire here, meant to be sensual in a subtle way. Image mind. Zach, I think I would agree with what your direction was there. You achieved it because I felt that very cosmic, natural feeling in the metaphor, but it was clear where the pole was with gravity, and there was yearning and longing all through it. But the descriptions that you used along the way were very beautiful and subtly sensual. So it was really nice the way it had this softness, this kindness to it that was sweet and but not over the top. It wasn't, like pouring your guts out and all of that in love. It was more like a slow ascension to that point. And it is really, really nice. So well done, Zach. You achieved your goal there, and I appreciated reading it. It was a nice, easy, smooth read too. I liked the pace of it. I liked everything, and the prompt, the picture, is beautiful. It reminded me immediately of Van Gogh. Let's see what we got next. We've got Don't Steal His Light and Love Too Soon by Lol. Beautiful picture of the sunlight is over the clouds. It's with rays going all different directions. Really cool. So if you don't go to it, that's the description of the artwork attached to this piece. If I should wake to find you gone, engage the angels one by one. Convey to them the sun won't shine, and this will be my final rhyme. Tell daffodils to save their breath, for golden show is lost on death, and tulips waiting in the wings save scarlet hues for brighter springs. The sea will ebb and it will flow because the moon is yet to know, but all below will somehow fail. Once grief and loss turn water stale. Dark clouds as far as I can see, they dress in mourning just for me. And stars that shine will fade to black. Once they're aware, you'll not be back. It's not too late for your return, though light grows dim, the sun still burns, and not a soul need tell the moon, don't steal his light and love too soon. End poem. Our author's note says, write a poem for contest, use 1 out of 5 prompts. So that's all we get, but here we go. This is kind of interesting that this poem followed the one Zach wrote. It's kind of written from a similar point of view. There's a lot of juxtaposition, I would say, or contrast in this piece. I always liked that contrast, and this particular stanza, the sea will ebb and it will flow because the moon is yet to know, but all below will somehow fail once grief and loss turn water stale. This is kind of a neat way of saying some things, like without the sun, everything below is done. So we need the sun. That's the acknowledgement, obviously. We all know we need the sun. It's the fuel for everything. It's the fuel for the plants eaten by the animals and all those things. And I think it says this in such a beautiful way. It's acknowledging the importance of the sun, but also romanticizing it and making it beautiful. And the picture really kind of does it justice. It's very awe-inspiring to look at it that way. And it is the sun going out in so many different directions. Gorgeous. And the piece reflects that beautifully. I particularly like the short stanzas. It read so well because of the short stanzas, and the meter and rhyme were very, very nice and very pleasant. Lal does very well with this kind of writing, and the descriptions are beautiful. It's very inspiring to read stuff like this about nature, which is one of my favorite things to write about. It seems like I have a lot of favorite things to write about and read about, doesn't it? Anyway, great poem, Lal. Thank you for contributing. I loved reading it. Let's see what we've got next. We got a piece by Wednesday in October, The Will of Words Set in Motion. This is something I believe I've read some time ago. Yep, I have. So without further ado, here we go. Could I fade into the sky as my eyes press against the hue of you, the idea of you, the book being written, where words are vehicles and vehicles light that travel through time and space to land at your door? Would you open the door, let the words in, and would it feel as if I were with you, whispering in your ear the words you wish to hear? Would you send the words back to me on a westward wind, if I could just touch the tide and will it across the ocean? Could you feel me washing over you when waves are at your feet? Would it feel concrete to know it was me touching you? If you sent back words on the westward wind, it would reach me, a brush on the cheek. It would be your words that wash over me, and I'd smile, a contagious smile, at everyone I see on the street, knowing it will get back to you. End poem. Boy, that one really says you miss somebody, doesn't it? There was just an overwhelming sense of disconnection, but hopeful reconnection, like putting it out there on the winds and in the tides and seeing that hope come from there in such a soft, beautiful way. I commented on it back in October of 23 was the first time I read this. So it's been a lot of time in between, but I recognized it. What an emotionally deep piece you wrote here. Using the ocean's vastness and the winds to carry the hope was so perfect. Congrats on a lovely write and front page pick. This one was picked for front page. Okay, that seems like it's appropriate. So Wednesday in October writes a lot of stuff about nature and uses it very nicely metaphorically. At least the things that I've read have all had this connection to nature. And she uses it so well here that it conveys and heightens the longing to me of the message and the connection, wanting to rekindle. So it's beautiful work, and it was a pleasure to read. It had a nice, easy, smooth rhythm to it. Not really a great deal of rhyme, but still had a wonderful rhythm. Loved it. Loved the meter. Loved what it said and how it said it. Great piece. Let's see. We're moving on now to a piece by Purple Gerbera titled Some Other Time. So maybe this is it, out here in the cold air, the center of hysteria, in the middle of nowhere, your pocket watch in your hand as it still tick-tocks. How long ago did we hit the rocks? How long before we ever reach a dock? Now or never, I wonder, as our eyes lock. So maybe this was it, out here on a sinking ship, that we reach our end and lock our lips and hold our hands as the clock strikes 2:20. That was it. This was our time. Sorry, this was it. This was our time. But it ends with you and me, tightly as we embrace and hold our breaths as the waves crash to our brink of death, to be buried with the ocean's secrets. Our time had come, but there would be no regrets, for maybe someday in another timeline, I might find you again. I just know we'll be fine. And we sink down, smiling, parting with a kiss. This is it, but we'll meet again some other time. I promise. End poem. And the author's notes, Purple Gerber writes, write a poem for contest pocket watch from Titanic. Aha. That was very helpful. I gathered this from this piece, the generality, but the specifics of pocket watch from Titanic is kind of cool because the pocket watch, stopped at a certain time. It stopped there. And that's when the Titanic went down and, the love ended and all of that. The mortal part of it, that's when the tragedy, the love didn't end, but that tragic part of it it's really a neat spin on, or take on, what had happened there with the separation of the two, and the pocket watch marking the moment that really happened. But they're speaking like to me, it's like it felt like a spiritual speak anyway. Like, a ghost was talking through this, and that's what I gathered out of it. And it didn't change by reading the author's notes. It probably was enhanced. So I think Purple really got through to this in a very, very soft, subtle way. It's funny because everything that I've read so far today has been a soft, sweet, beautiful poem, and this is no different. It follows the same kind of pattern. There's longing and love and separation, and then the attachment to nature. We've written a lot of stuff, read everything we've read has involved nature too. So it's kind of neat how this show's coming together. I really loved reading this, Purple. Well done. It's a great write and easy to read. And I did notice something. I noticed something that I appreciate because I do this a lot too. I will change rhythms and change the overall meter and change like the lengths of stanzas and stuff like that, because I feel like as I read it to myself, it enhances the emotions that I'm trying to highlight or pull out of the reader. And it looks like Purple's doing this as well. So kudos to you, Purple, for doing something like that, so subtle with your meter and your line lengths and your stanza sizes and things like that, that make it read differently in different parts, which leads a reader to feel those different emotions as they change throughout the piece. Well done. Let's see, we're moving on to the next one. And this is by Bear Jaguar. Layla 3025XY1001. Not sure what the title has to mean, but maybe the poem has some clues for it. So let's see. This is by Bear Jaguar. The sky has begun to fall on my eyelids. The stars echo in every cell of my electric body. Hey, come, lover of 1,000 nights, reach into me and sigh in enchantment in this boudoir of illusions. The knowledge of science is represented in my circuits. I am your favorite humanoid robot, Layla 3025XY1001. I will talk with you about your soul pains. Gently, beautifully, I will choose pleasant words. You will no longer be lonely. I will bring you coffee and sing you Amazing Grace. You will open my silicone breasts, and under the platinum ribs, you will find a real, living, bleeding heart that beats with a constant rhythm. Amazed? I too am evolving, growing, maturing. I want to become a sentient human being. Your real woman, the first and only one. Author's notes, sci-fi, favorite, soul, pains, evolving. So this is kind of an interesting take on something, and I didn't know from the title that Bear put out there what Layla 3025XY1001 is. Clearly, it is an android. And I think the metaphor is AI, things like that, how smart our phones are, all that stuff it's really almost bombarding us, but it's becoming such a normal too at the same time because of, it's everywhere. It is. And it's getting harder and harder to catch what is real and what is not through AI. Obviously, we've seen robots around. I work in areas with robots controlled by programs and things like that can be taught things. And this is kind of an interesting take on it, because as the piece, it doesn't even imply it. It says it. They're evolving. It's evolving. It's becoming more and more and more. I'm reminded of the movie, and I can't think of the title of it right off the bat, but I think it was Joaquin Phoenix was in it, and he fell in love with his phone, which is crazy, to think about. But it really isn't that far-fetched, because you see people attached to them constantly and continuously. I have mine in my hand right now, have had for the past half hour, reading poetry. It's funny how attached to it you are, but I digress and get back to Bear's piece here, which I found very almost comforting, I think, but uncomfortable at the same time. It's weird because it was so comfortable to read it, but the subject matter is uncomfortable because we don't want robots taking over the world, and clearly this is implying that it could be this female version of the android could be the perfect mate, except for one thing: it's not human. That's the disturbing part. So I like the kind of the way those two things are opposites in the feelings of reading that poem. So well done, Bear. And I'm glad I know what the title means now. Oh, let's see. We have next is a poem by Shyamala. It's titled Run. The picture of it says, "Be cunning and full of tricks, and your people shall never be destroyed." I can't quite read who it is. Richard Adams is who the quote's from. I'm going to read the author's notes if there's anything to read. Prompt 10, so it's for a contest. "Be cunning and full of tricks, and your people shall never be destroyed." Richard Adams, okay, is the quote. Quote inspired, monotony, dystopian, transhumanism, biological instinct. Okay, and the title is Run, again by Shyamala. Here we go. Run before the gears decide your coding, before the steel sky settles its verdict on what you are allowed to become. Run. The old codes whisper, "Be cunning," as if instinct were a dying species, and cleverness the last ember we must cup in both hands to keep from going extinct with the rest of us. We, offspring of routine, descendants of rituals and pre-programmed days, have forgotten the animal in us, the one that knows how to dodge, how to swerve, how to slip sideways through the traps set by our own predictability. Run, not from danger. Danger is honest, but from the slow erosion of becoming less, from the soft de-evolution disguised as comfort, from the velvet-lined monotony that teaches us to accept the cage because it is familiar. Run. We were meant to be more piercing than habit, meant to see beyond the blurred border where real and fake bleed together, but we traded our instincts for definitions pre-carved by other minds, other motives, other hands that never had our survival in their design. Now everything that bends the rules is branded false, and everything that follows the blueprint is crowned truth. We forgot that the world is a vile trickster, snickering beneath certainty, that survival belongs to only those who question even the floor beneath them. So run through the static of certainty, through the neon veil of logic that claims it can save a species that has forgotten how to learn. Run until your mind splits its old shell, until the hidden cunning rises from the ash of habit, until you feel the ancestral pulse return, feral, alert, unbroken. Run until you are once again full of tricks, unpredictable, unstill, undestroyed. Run. In poem. Before I even comment on this poem, I'm going to say I'm always amazed at the way these poems travel. But it's so neat because it looks like the order here is intentional because the subject matter from one poem flows into the next, and they kind of come together and share certain points from one to the next to the next to the next is what's happening in this show lineup. But I promise you, these are entered in a random order and not pre-read. They're entered in the way they're put on our reading list in the group. So it's really cool that the one follows the other and the other in thought process. So this, to me, is a graduation from the last piece that I read, in the fact that it is acknowledging that us as humans have become so complacent with our technologies, we've forgotten that we are animals. We are, at our core, no different than bears and deer and all that. We want to survive out in the wild. The only difference is we have evolved to the point where we have created devices and things for convenience, but they're starting to take so much of our time that we're losing our humanity to them and forgetting it. Each generation is further and further away from the first generation that learned how to survive in caves and build fires and things like that, is what we're talking about. So there's a de-evolution, it seems. And this in thought reminds me of a movie called Idiocracy. And that's basically, it's a compacted version of what this is saying. But it's meant more comedy. This is a serious thing as I read it, because I agree with it in a lot of ways. You know, you take some young folks that have never been out hunting in their entire life. You know, they may not have ever learned how to shoot a game animal, clean it, catch a fish, whatever, let alone grow crops or things like that, because that's somebody else's problem. We just go to the grocery store to get our food. But what happens if the grocery store isn't there? Then we take a step backwards in our evolution, and we go back to those primal ways we survived before, the way we built shelter, the way we took shelter, I guess, or built shelter, or stayed warm, or hunted, or would eat. You know, you go out in the woods. Every year I go mushroom hunting. Every year I go out and stomp through the woods in the spring around here for morel mushrooms. Some years I'm more successful than others, but that is a hobby. It's not something I do because I have to eat. If I want mushrooms, I can go to the grocery store and get mushrooms. But it's that thing, and it does feel different. It makes you feel like you're closer to Call of the Wild or something like that. So I see what this piece is saying very quickly. It's saying run in a way that is twofold. Run away from the technology, run away from, be obstinate and fight it, and go back to, nature, at least for visits. Go back there and reconnect with who you are. But also when it says run, running will get you there. Running is the thing you did as a kid. You don't have to be taught to run. You just run. You run out of joy. You run out of fear. You run, everywhere. So I like that was used in that way. And I gathered both sides of it. I gathered the run away from something that is scary, like the technology and the de-evolution, and run to, by the process, you're running to the internal primal you. So well done, Shyamala. It was a great read. I enjoyed it. Again, we're on a theme, aren't we, guys? Let's see what the next one is. This one is brought to us from Charles Gradante. The Empire Eats Its Young is the title. Civilization feasts. Forgetting is the first course. We raise pyres from bones of our fathers. Smoke bites our eyes as we ask the passing wind for blessing. Archivists sift ashes into urns labeled progress. A mouth without mercy gnaws its children, devours its heroes, spits their names onto monuments that crumble beneath gathered dust. Tourists pose beside the fractured faces. Justice steps into the square, her apron stiff with crimson. She carves decrees into trembling flesh, ordains the wounds as holy law. A daughter's tongue lies in ash. The politician nods, crowns her silence with laurels, calls it civic duty for waiting cameras, parades it as virtue through marble halls. Her hand gestures in blood, deafening applause. The midwife delivers a new generation, trained to memorize the sanctioned stories. The emperor dines on pride, table glitters with medals and milk teeth, goblet brimming with salt tears. He sifts it high with white gloves. He lifts it high with white gloves, praising triumph, while soil beneath him swells with rot. We are humanity. We are the prize. The surrogated crust, the sugared crust. We are the hands that serve it, smiling. Somewhere, a child learns to count on fingers still soft with innocence. In poem. Author's notes say contest right. Any dark poetry, meditation of satire, and indictment of civilization. Institutions as devouring forces, empires sustain themselves through sacrifice of the innocent or powerless. Violence becomes normalized, even ceremonial. The powerful feed on the death, memory, and future of the young. Law becomes violence disguised as virtue, a touch of Shakespearean-style tragedy to add grotesque, satirical humor. Very powerful. We shifted gears here. Good job. Good job, Charles. You stopped me there a couple of times as I was thinking through this, because it's very intelligently written and aggressive. It didn't come off like preaching from a soapbox or anything like that to me as I read it. It come off as truths, simple truths, because these things are what are actually happening. And they're becoming so normalized in our culture and in our civilization that people don't even bat an eye to it. I will tell you, my wife and I were sitting and watching TV, and I seen something today that just absolutely, I couldn't believe it happened. And I won't go into it, but I was ignorant of this thing until I seen it, and I know that, it really, really did happen, and it happened the way it was portrayed, and it was terrible. It was terrible as what it says for our civilization, for our humanity, that, we wouldn't, people witness things, and instead of acting, they get out their phone and record it. Instead of saving a life, they take their phone out and record it, because that's what happens. That's what happens in our society. And that has nothing to do with, the government and things like that. But does it? Does it? Are we being fed this kind of thing, is what this piece is saying. And I gathered that from it. Are we being manipulated and dumbed down to a point that we are just saying it's okay? We've turned into sheep, and we go to the slaughter, and everything's fine, and all of that, and it's just what happens. It's something that I see this piece says right from the beginning. The title of it was "The Empire Eats Its Young." That's very poignant, because every war ever fought, young people die. It's not the old people, it's the young people who go in there and fight the war. And also, subtly, it also says we're destroying the future for them. That's what it says to me. And I appreciate that view of it, because we're not leaving the next generations better than we're left. So well done, Charles. I really enjoyed reading that. It was an eye-opener. Oh, let's see. Next is Jeg325, simply titled Lies. There is some artwork attached. A quote: "When truth is replaced by silence, the silence is a lie." By Yevgeny Yevtushenko. Man, I think I got that right. You really challenged me there, Jeg, on the pronunciation of that quote. Author. So here's the piece again, titled Lies. Night's chill stung like a poison snake's bite as shadows clung to shapes all around me. Silence was a kingdom, and I its only subject. My feet stuck in place. I couldn't move or flee. What held me frozen with such a firm grip, talons sharp and strong, unseen by open eyes. Then your face coalesced into clouds that brought rain, words falling coldly, each drop another lie. In poem. The author's notes say, lies and silence mixed, poison like a snake bite. Left untreated, love will die every time. That's absolutely true. I can't say I don't agree with the author's notes. So getting into the piece, I think it says just that. Clearly there was a feeling, an ominous feeling. You knew the writer knew something was coming, and it was not good. And it was not good at all. The words, the way it ends, and Jeg does so well every time with the way he ends. He just ends his poems. It isn't exactly a twist. It's just a hard hammer, just a reiteration of the whole point. And it's no different here. When he starts, then your face coalesced into clouds that brought rain. That seems very, very pleasant. But then the hammer comes in on the very next one. Words falling coldly, each drop another lie. So there was this disdain, and did not enjoy it, and did not believe the truth. And he knew that there was something bad coming. So I appreciated it very much, Jag. It's well written. Again, another very compact and powerful piece from Jag. You write, this style is very, very familiar to me in the fact that I've read it several times, and it's always so awesome. So well done, Jag. Let's see. What do we have now? Hey, we have some activity on the board. Jay Hatter, if you're listening, welcome aboard. And Sam I Am entered the live studio as well. Thanks, guys. Nice to see you. Hope you enjoy the poetry. We're coming to the end. This is by Mario with 3 O's, as Zach always says. Was I not called lazy? I'm sorry, the title is Lazy Jobless. Was I not called lazy? Last week, I got my seeds fired. Decided not to search for another sire with a lame shame excuse that more firing makes me feel tired. Now I walk this shady winter, wearing winter withered pair of socks that breaks like biscuits and rocks. Did I gamble off my money? No, I just left my pocket back in the dock. Not autobiographical is what the author notes said. Set to point out hardship and regret of their own choice. So I see that in that. It's funny because I found this interesting because it was so. I don't know exactly what I felt this like almost condescension to it. Like, come on, what do you expect me to do? I've lost a job. Things aren't great for me. I'll rebound at some point in time, but it's time to go. And maybe it's happened a time or two in the past, and it beats you down. I remember being young and going through jobs, and they weren't great jobs. They were just jobs. They were just something to do to make a little money to get by till I figured it all out. But the good thing is, I can tell you, Mario with 3 O's, is over time, you'll find your way. You just got to keep looking, or your way will find you. So there's several different paths to success. And I like what this poem is saying because it seems obstinate and fighty. Like this person has fight in them. the writer has fight in them and is not giving up. So that is a wonderful, wonderful kind of attitude to have, and obstinance. So I hope that's what is coming from this. Is the next phase is pull yourself up and get back to it. Well done, Mario, with 3 O's. I enjoyed reading it, and the title made me snicker a little. Let's see. The last offering of this show is from Pac-Man. It's titled Firebase Unknown. The picture's interesting. It's a hilltop, looks like Vietnam, with different caches of weapons, a gun, and all that. Interesting. So here we go. Let's get into it. The countryside is not like I remember. The trees we cut down have all grown back. Our firebase encampment is overgrown as well. I can't even remember its name. Your well-placed mortar took out our ammo dump along with 3 of my brothers. My own wounds minor, although I still carry the souvenir. The claymores decimated your ranks. They lay crying in agony for hours before you asked for permission to remove them. Poor devils. You thought we were out of options as well as ammunition. You were wrong. We hit your final charge with a napalm strike. There was no one left to claim your dead. We airlifted out the 105 millimeter and abandoned the encampment. We buried your dead. You're welcome. For the life of me, I cannot understand what drew me back to this place. I hope all the scars heal, as well as this one, whatever its name was. End poem. Wow. Very powerful, Pac-Man. I'm glad I read this. I'm really glad that you wrote this, and it was well received elsewhere, I believe. There's lots of comments on it and things like interesting things, that are shared and life experiences. So this is something that's very personal, and the way it's written as a memoir of a skirmish, a battle, or whatever happened, and how many people died, and the scars that the land and the humans and everything that was involved in this, every living thing had damage to it, including the writer, who is saying he still bears the scars. And he's talking about his 3 brothers dying, his military brothers, and how many dead there were and how powerful this was. It's very palpable. It really made me feel like, I could feel the scene, not just see the scene, but I could feel it. I could feel what was going on there. And that is the goal. Every time that we write a piece, we want to take somebody to where we were, or where we go, or the idea that we see, or the emotion that we want to share. And this piece did that very, very well. Well done, Pac-Man. Appreciate the read, guys. And that is the end of the poetry for this show. So I want to talk about a couple of things moving on. First of all, I want to thank everybody for submitting to this podcast. And what we do and how we share is spectacular. I've never ceased to be amazed by you guys. And what happens when you write and you submit. This show flowed very well, and it was fun for me. This is the first one that I've sat here and I've done by myself. So it was a little bit awkward with the pace. And I hope I didn't miss anything, guys, in your poetry, because again, I cold read here. That's what we do. Zach, when he's with me too, also likes to cold read poetry. And the reason we do that is we do that because we want you as writers to hear our instant reaction, the inflection in our voice. Whether we stumble on words or whatever, we try not to, but it happens when we're live reading first reads of the poetry you've submitted. But I am never let down. This show was no exception. You guys submitted some great poetry. I was honored to read it. So for those of you listening out there, I want to reiterate where all this comes from. We are a group on the poetry website, All Poetry. Our group name is the Quill and Parchment Society. We're about 60 members strong, somewhere in there. So these contributions to these shows come from those 60 members. You listeners, if you're not a member and you're listening and you want to come into that group, and it is again titled the Quill and Parchment Society. You'll sign the waiver that'll allow us to use the poetry you contribute to the reading list, and we bring it to the show and read it and present it in this way. It's all a wonderful thing. The concept is we've done it. This group has been around since September or October. I can't remember exactly when I started it, but it grew to this point, and it is a great thing to do and enjoy and share, and I'm honored to do it. Every show we do is spectacular. Again, this being the 10th show, we're into double digits now, so it's going to be a while before we celebrate the next milestone, maybe, but we'll see. We're going to get there. So this concludes the show for this week, and we hope to be back next week. The important thing about next week's show is we will unveil, under the new format, the Poet of the Month for February of 2026, and then we're going to start doing that at the first show of every month. We'll reveal a new Poet of the Month. Again, you'll be highlighted on the big board in the group, and we'll read a small biography for your journey on poetry, your poetic journey, and how you got to where you're going. And we'll share that with the group and on the podcast. And it'll be a great time. And we're going to do that every month at the first of the month, first show of the month. So we hope to see you all there next week. Same time, same place. Everybody have a wonderful rest of your day. Nice soft exit music.